YouTube. We are back with another video, YouTube. We got a different type of reaction today, man. Today we are going to be reacting to what a life sentence actually feels like, day 1 to year 40. I hope y'all ready for this one, though. I hope y'all ready. Let's get this started. Let me see what they're talking about.
40 years in prison doesn't just change you, it rewires you. The system is designed to wear you down, to break
40
you.
years,
By
though?
the time you get out, everything you knew is gone. How do people
But imagine 40 years, bro. You come out 40 years, everything is changed. Nothing's the same, bro. Wow, that's crazy.
survive that and not lose themselves
That's what I'm
completely?
saying.
On
How do people
today's
survive
episode
that?
of the Infographic Show, we're walking through what a life sentence in prison is actually like. Day 1, you shuffle off the bus in handcuffs and leg irons, peering up at the guard towers and razor wire fencing. Armed officers herd you forward, their eyes cold. To them, you are nothing. And this is it, your home for the next 4 decades.
God
You enter a holding room
damn.
where an officer
4 decades, bro. Man, how do some people do that? Like, this is why y'all gotta stop doing crimes, man. Don't do crimes. If y'all watching me, don't do any crimes, man. Don't spend 40 years of your life in prison. Don't do it. No, don't do no
takes off your
crime.
leg irons and gestures toward a thick door, the booking area. They take your
Because imagine, while you in there, the world is moving, bro. Nobody cares about you while you in there. The world is moving. So you come out, it's like, everything's changed. Nothing's the same how you left it. You know how crazy that would be? Do y'all know how crazy that sounds?
band and slip your phone and wallet into a Ziploc bag. $200 goes into your prisoner trust account and another $100 into your telephone account. In another room, you're told to strip. A guard smirks when they notice the tattoo of your son's name inked across your chest. Your son, just 4 years old, will grow up without a father. And your
Damn.
wife, who swore she would wait, will have gray hair and wrinkles the next time you hold her, if you ever hold her again. The truth is, you've already accepted she'll move on.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I don't think nobody in their right mind should be waiting for anybody for 40 years. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's how I see it. 40 years is way too long. If you did 40 years, what are you doing to get 40 years? Why would anybody wait for you? Because you put yourself in that situation. That's my take on it. I would not wait for anybody that's doing 40 plus years, bro. Because who knows? Them 40 years he's doing, something could happen. I could pass away, or like, you never know. Anything can happen.
But the very thought of that right now is unbearable. Then comes the strip search. The whole process is totally dehumanizing. You've never thought of yourself as a bad person. It was self-defense, but that didn't wash with a jury of 12 men and women. The judge called it a callous disregard for human life, a deliberate act of calculated cruelty. If you had to defend yourself again, you would. And in this prison, it'll become a reality. But fighting isn't what frightens you. It's spending the next 40 years in small claustrophobic rooms as the property of the United States government. Just another body the officers will process today. You're
Yeah.
handed your prison-issue slip-on shoes, gray jogging pants, and a sweater bearing the initials DOC, Department of Corrections. They fingerprint you and they take your photo. You're
Man.
now a number, 12515-066. One of 1.8 million Americans behind bars. One of 600,000 people sent to prison each.
He said what? 1 point what? Behind bars? God damn, that's a lot.
Think about is your wife and child at home. Later, a nurse performs the health checkup. She asks about your drug history and whether you're a danger to yourself.
Yep.
You mutter no and you shake your head. She scribbles a note in your file and you are out the door. You're moved into another nameless, colorless room. Have you ever worked for law enforcement? A guy in a shirt and tie asks you. No, you haven't, and you've never testified against anyone, so there's no reason you can't do your time in the general population. None of this feels real. Your state-appointed lawyer had been sure you would just get a few years for manslaughter, or better, it'd be viewed as a justifiable homicide. You were one of the 80 to 90% of federal criminal defendants in the U.S. defended by the state, a nation where with enough money the odds aren't too bad for getting away with serious felonies.
Defended by the
The
state.
thought makes you furious. Your emotions swing wildly, from rage to despair. You just saw a female and a male officer laughing and joking with each other. Casual work.
And they get to go home, bro. I know the prisoners be heated, and they get to go home. They just doing this shit. They get to go home right after. Damn. No. I would never want to put myself in this position, you know?
You'll never share a moment like that again. and then you walk through the bowels of the prison, door after door creaking open until the faint sound of voices grows louder, the smell of floor cleaner and sweat filling your nostrils. The last door opens to your unit. Faces look up from the tables where men are slamming down dominoes and cards. You keep your head high. You don't show them any weakness. White, black, brown, all in their own tight clique. Like it or not, this is your new family. Fish! Someone shouts from behind you.
Oh,
it
shit.
reminds you of your
Fresh
school,
meat.
but with
Fresh
grown
meat.
men, dangerous men. You're not interested in what any of them has done or the prison hierarchy they belong to. You don't want to be a part of their system, their code. You're not scared of them.
When you're doing 40 years like that, eventually you will end up like them. Eventually. Because it's like, bro, those are the only people you got. You have to find somebody. Because imagine being by yourself, isolated, while in there for 40 years. You don't know if you ever getting out. Who knows? You're going to have to talk to people.
The only thing that scares you now is time. You walk into your cell. Your cellie barely looks up, jerking his head to the top bunk. You toss your prison handbook on a steel desk, barely a foot away from a toilet sink combo that smells like it was freshly used. You still expect to wake up with your wife beside you,
Good luck with
it
that.
was all just a bad dream. Month 1. Before you were locked up, you'd watched prison TV shows. Like millions of others, you dismissed them as poverty porn, cheap exploitation of damaged lives. But you still watched. Your guilty pleasure was seeing grown men fight over a missing piece of candy. But you never thought you would be one of them. In here, you know your place, and it's decided by skin color and affiliation. Since you have no affiliation, unless you count CrossFit, Catholicism, or the Pee Wee soccer team you coached, you're lumped in with the whites. This was explained to you when a group of thugs walked into your cell a day after you'd arrived. They wanted to see your papers, your charges, checking to see if you were a chomo or some other kind of sex offender. You used to think that the prison code, when you heard about it on TV, was insane and hypocritical. But now that you're a part of it, you keep your mouth shut. The guys looked impressed when they read your homicide conviction. In here, that's a badge of honor.
That's a badge
The guys
of
looked
honor.
impressed when
You
they
know how
read your
crazy that
homicide
is?
Conviction. In here, that's a badge of honor.
You know how crazy that is? Homicide as a badge of honor. Those are the type of people you don't want to be around, bro. So I'm telling y'all, whoever's watching this reaction, don't get yourself in this situation. Try to stay out of trouble.
You don't bother telling them the details, what your useless lawyer had called mitigating circumstances.
Yeah.
Neither do you.
I've also heard that try to get a lawyer if you can afford it. Because public defenders, they do not give a fuck. Because they have so many cases, they really don't care. Public defenders do not care. I heard it call them public pretenders.
Tough guy. Your cellie later tells you that tough guys don't last long in prison. Just be cool and you'll be all right, he told you. But his bid is 7 years, not 40.
Yeah.
He explained that you are constantly monitored, that cameras watch your every move.
Talking about-
But he said this doesn't.
I would be tight as hell if I was in there for 40 years. Motherfucker telling me I'm gonna be alright when he got 7 years. Like, bro, you don't know me. You don't know how long I gotta be here. You don't know what's gonna happen. Come on, man. Don't talk to me. I don't even want to hear that. You just gonna piss me off. Then I might do something that might give me more years. Come on, man.
Stop the violence. Someone was stabbed in the shower stalls a week or 2 before you arrived. He said if someone wants you dead,
Damn.
they can kill you and make it look self-inflicted. The kid who carried it out was a torpedo, ordered to put work in for the Mexican mafia.
Crazy.
They run things in this unit, taking orders from the boss, the shot caller. When there are problems, this guy will mediate it with the heads of the other races. You soon learn that if someone disrespects you, you fight back, or you'll become a victim. You have seen it with your own eyes. A fight over a stare.
Mad
Something
dogging.
your cellie called mad dogging. Another guy was beaten for farting, a sign of
What?
disrespect.
What if you fought an accident? They gonna whoop your ass for that? Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. Yeah, bro. I be passing gas. I could never go to prison, bro. I'm gonna get my ass beat. What? Oh, no.
The unit feels like a time bomb. The fuse hasn't been lit yet. Your cellie says all-out violence is rare, it disrupts business, and business means drugs. Sometimes they're smuggled in, but more often an officer will bring them in. If you cause a fight, the unit is locked down and the cells get tossed. If drugs or weapons are confiscated,
Oh, they
you can
gonna beat
expect
your
a
ass.
beating.
Yeah, they gonna. Yeah, he ain't even have to say that. They gonna whoop your ass, boy. They gonna whoop you. Woo! You better try to stay out of trouble, or they gonna whoop your ass. They gonna whoop you.
And you'd better hope the shot caller is feeling generous, because an HOS or hit on sight can easily become a KOS, kill on sight. Month 6.
Damn.
You're adjusting to prison life, and not just learning to poop in front of another man. You've gotten drunk on prison alcohol.
That's another thing I couldn't do, bro. That's another reason why I would never want to go to prison. Imagine taking a shit and then somebody's looking at you. Just staring at you. Like, that's so uncomfortable, bro. And you have no choice but to shit. No choice. You have to do it. Unless you want to shit on yourself. You have to do it. Man. I'll say this again. Kids, whoever's watching this, make sure you don't go to prison, bro. You don't want to be in prison. It's not a good place. Try to abide by the law if you can. Yeah. Let's get back to the video, man.
By your wing.
I'm gonna stop trying to pause. I'm not gonna pause too much.
Pruno guy, the hooch expert, making money from hustle. Urselli said it's a pretty simple process. Just take a whole load of old fruit and mix it with bread and then add extra sugar. Process guy in front of another man. You've gotten drunk on prison alcohol. Brewed by Your Wings Pruno guy, the hooch expert, making money from hustle. Urselli said it's a pretty simple process.
It's crazy.
Just take a whole load of old fruit and mix it with bread and then add extra sugar.
It's crazy the amount of things you learn when you go to prison, though. Motherfucker make alcohol in prison. How the fuck you do that? See, if I was to go to prison and learn some shit like that, I would come in the real world and do that shit. Like, you know what I mean? Create that seems and make a business out of that. Cause that's crazy. It's crazy. You can learn a lot of stuff in prison though. That's good.
For strength, even ketchup and candies work. You've got to leave it to ferment, usually in a watertight bag that can be acquired from the kitchen. You pour a bit of extra warm water into it every day. The key is just finding a good hiding place, ideally above the roofing tiles or even inside the walls. It only takes 5 to 7 days to brew, but the longer you leave it, the stronger it is. You can get it up to about 15%, even 30%, but the norm is about 10%. It's important to burp the bag or let the pressure out, otherwise you'll have an explosion on your hands. It wasn't the best thing you've ever drunk, but at $10 a cup, it'll do. You've been so depressed that even a cheap buzz felt like relief, but that is not the only escape available inside. You name it, you can buy it here. Heroin, cocaine, Xanax, methamphetamines,
even
spice, even LSD.
Even the CEOs are corrupt in there, bro. Man, I don't even know what to say, y'all.
Ecstasy. Nothing about prison makes sense. Guys locked up for possession are doing harder drugs inside. Others who had never touched drugs get hooked here, carrying the habit back outside.
I mean, yeah, when you in there for a long time, you have to do something.
Everything here is about 5 to 10 times the cost on the outside. A corrupt, low-paid prison officer and a gang can make some serious cash. You once read that some women officers admitted they liked the protection inmates gave them. It made life easier. Some, said a report, were just infatuated with the gang members. Others liked buying Percocet on the street for just $5.
And those are the one that end up with the motherfuckers too. They end up going to prison as well. That's crazy.
And getting $50 in prison. And it's more common than people think. You remember reading that in Baltimore, 75% of 650 correctional officers were women, and a witness claimed 65 to 75% of them were involved in contraband, smuggling, or relationships with inmates. Just before you came into the prison, a report out of Kentucky said 30 officers had sex with inmates in only 16 months. Meanwhile, 14 others smuggled in drugs. And now you've seen it happen yourself. In prison, you'll pay around $40 for enough tobacco for a few rolled cigarettes.
$40?
Weed, about $10 a gram outside of prison, is $60 inside. Meth, popular because the high lasts a long time.
God damn, $60 a gram? That's a ripoff. They just stole your money, bro. $60 a gram.
Time is about $40 a gram outside and $130 inside. Heroin, $10 a bag outside, is $70 or more here. Just a cheap prescription Suboxone pill sells for about $80. So a corrupt officer can be paid thousands for one small package.
That's
and
insane.
if you want a smartphone, a phone that has possibly been plugged, you might pay $6,000. Urselli said.
How do you have that? What are you doing to have that much money in prison? What are they doing? How do you have 6,000? Shit.
Prisoners have used drones to fly contraband over the walls. No matter what, the
Drones?
business doesn't stop.
Drones?
If there are seizures, all
How the hell
it
you
does
get
is
your
push
hands
the
on
prices up,
drones?
making it more lucrative for anyone involved. In other words, what you've learned is that criminals remain criminals in prison. Also, prisoners usually learn a few new tricks of the trade in what some call crime school. It's no wonder that about 3/4 of these men will be back within 5 years of their release, and you'll be here waiting. Year 1.
Damn.
So far, you managed to stay out of trouble.
That's depressing.
It's true what they say about prison. If you keep your head down, be polite, don't let anyone take advantage of you, or breach the prison code, you might manage to finish your sentence unscathed. And
I know prison food be ass, bro. From what I've seen, prison food is shit. Imagine eating that for 40 years straight. 40 years straight, bro. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I could do it, y'all. Shit, I might do like 3 years. I'm like, shit, I don't know, man. 3 years, I don't think I could do no 40 years. At that point, it's like, do I still want to live? You know? It's like, nah, bro, you're not living at all. That's just me, though.
far, that's true. You've not been forced to join a gang, but it is just a fact of life in here that you don't get too close to the other races. You don't eat with them, you don't spot them in the yard while they're working out, you don't borrow things from them or help them. The code demands you stay out of other people's business. Don't even ask people what they're in for. You heard a guy got a beating just for looking into someone's cell when he walked past. It's as if the code prevents real friendships from being made. If the authorities plan to divide and rule in prison, it is working. But now the friends you had outside, those guys that said they'd stick by you, they're writing less often.
Yeah.
Your wife writes at least once a week, and she...
I mean, what do you expect, nigga? You in there for 40 years. You think they're gonna write to you every day? Come on, bro. 40 years, that's a long time, bro. People gotta move on with their lives, man. That's a long time. 40 years too much to be writing to you every day. I understand like 10 years, 7 years, 15, even 20, but like 40 years, bro. Nah, bro, I can't do that. It's too much.
Your kid visit once every 2 weeks. It doesn't help that visits are on weekdays and they've put you in a prison about 170 miles from your home. You always make sure that when she visits, she leaves with a smile. You've already probably spent literally hundreds of hours going through all the men you suspect have a crush on her. Besides that, your days are pretty much all the same.
I mean, what do you expect, bro?
At 6:30, then you work in the kitchen till 4 p.m. Your cellie says you were lucky to get a job in the kitchen, but 30 cents an hour doesn't feel very lucky.
30 cents an hour, bro? What the fuck? 30 cents? Oh my God. And if you don't work, you don't get no money, because if nobody's putting money on your books, you're fucked. You gotta eat prison food. No commissary, none of that. For 30 cents though, an hour? Let me see, bro. Let's see, you do like what? Let's do some math here real quick, y'all. You do like 40 hours. 30 cents times 40 hours. How much is that? That's only $12, y'all. That's only $12. You're getting paid $12 for working 40 hours. Not even 40, but let's try 80 hours. 40 plus 40. 80. 80 times 30 cents. That's $24. $24. And I know shit in prison is expensive as shit. How you gonna ration this? How you gonna ration $24, y'all? Yeah, don't go to prison, man. Don't go to prison.
Only get yard time 3 times a week, but there is indoor recreation every day. Dinner starts at 6 p.m., lockdown is 9 p.m., and it's lights out at 10 p.m. Nothing changes except for anger management sessions. An hour twice a week with a young therapist fresh out of school. He wants you to talk about your emotions, and he loves to mention the boomerang effect. Don't express your feelings and they'll likely explode later in a fit of fury. Sometimes violence is necessary, you think? The therapist wouldn't understand. It's not something you can learn in university. Sure, you regret your crime, but only because of the consequences. Year 5. The officers all know your name. You've seen them come and go. The weak ones get exploited, and the tyrants are hated. The good ones are firm but fair. As for you, there's a kind of respect for guys who will be in here for a long time, as long as they stay out of the business and they haven't hurt women or kids. The prison does have some educational programs, but they're not available to everyone. And for most of the young gangbangers, education is viewed as a weakness. If you're smart, you find a hustle, and by your first year you had one. You are one of the few who can write and make sense of complicated legal texts. That's made you the jailhouse lawyer. It's against prison rules, but so are all the hustles. The officers usually turn a blind eye to it as long as nothing gets out of hand. But if there's a shakedown, any sign of your hustle, and you might get some time in the special housing unit, the SHU.
The SHU.
There, it's a 23-hour-a-day lockdown. Your exercise is in a miserable cage.
23 hours?
You've been there only once, and you don't want to go again. All day, all you heard were screams and shouting. In prison, it feels like about half the guys are
I would go mad if I was in there. There's nothing. It's just a brick wall and a window. Sometimes them motherfuckers don't even have windows. It's just a door. I go crazy.
mentally ill. You read once that 15% have a serious mental illness like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or major depression. And the crazy ones often end up in the SHU, slamming their heads against the wall or harming themselves. Thankfully, they still allow you to read in the SHU, otherwise you might have gone crazy. The prison library isn't great, but it is a lifesaver. Well, it is if you're not one of the 60 to 75% of US prisoners who are functionally illiterate. For lifers, if you're not constantly doing gang business, there are three main ways to stay sane: regular exercise, meditation, and reading. Reading is one activity that you've seen in prison that actually helps people rehabilitate themselves. The selection isn't great, way too much romance fiction. Still, they have a lot of classics and some okay nonfiction. You just go to the library during yard time and you check out the books. When you were in the SHU, they came around with a cart. Your wife sends books in too, and prisoners can order from Amazon. You can't have overtly sexual books or anything that might inspire or teach violence. And yes, there's actually...
Oh yeah, that's the thing, bro. Imagine you're horny. What you gonna do? You can't jack off. Can't do none of that. I don't know how y'all... I don't know how prisoners be doing it, bro. Nah, bro. I don't know. I don't know about that one. That'd be tough. Very tough.
And books list. The 2023 Prison Libraries Act was supposed to address the lack of funding, but the bigger problem is censorship. If they were really serious about rehabilitation, they should be making sure prisoners have access to a wide range of educational nonfiction and literary
they don't
fiction.
care about no
but instead, they
rehabilitation.
ban books like it's North Korea. Banned. Texas came next with around 10,000, then Kansas with 7,700, Virginia with 7,200, and New York with 5,300. And that includes language books staff can't read, and drawing books that inmates might use for tattoos. Often no reason is given, just stamped threat to security. In some states, even books with homosexuality are banned. Part of you thinks that the system is not interested in rehabilitation.
Hell
it's not
nah.
just filling quotas and punishing people.
Hell
You got a
no,
lot of
they're
time
not.
to think about the man you murdered. You've watched
If
men
they
in
were, it
here
wouldn't be a
brag
lot
about
of people
violence and
going
killing,
back.
and it hit you hard. Maybe you are just as messed up as they are. You always thought you were different, that your case was special, but just about everyone here says that. But your crime only created more trauma, which you are now passing down to your son. Violence is like a vicious cycle.
Yeah, imagine you can't even watch your kid grow up. They're never gonna know who you are for real. And then you gotta think about it. Your kid go to school, his friends probably know all that information that you in prison. They're probably gonna start bullying him all that because of you. So it's like it's fucked anyway. It's crazy, you know.
If prison has done anything good for you, it's the realization that crime is all about cause and effect, and that even in bad circumstances, a civilized man can choose to end it. Still, you know you did wrong, and it won't help you get through another 30 years.
Yeah,
Year 10.
30 years.
About 3 years ago, your wife started writing less often. She canceled visits.
Come on now. You know she getting some dick somewhere else. Come on now. Year 10 and you supposed to be in there for 40. You think she's still loyal? Come on, bro. She getting some dick. Come on now.
One after the other. Your son, who's now 14, started getting into trouble, and your wife said it was your fault. Now he barely visits you, and when he does, he looks bored and resentful. And then you got the letter. She'd met another guy.
Yeah,
she
told
loved
you.
She said she tried, but she couldn't live the best years
I
of
don't
her
I don't
life
I don't
alone.
blame her,
In a
bro.
way, you felt
40
some
years, bro.
relief.
That's a
Part
long
of you
time.
wanted to respect her decision. The other part wanted his name and address. The group therapist said anger is a very natural response in these circumstances, but what does he know about spending your life in prison? You'll be sitting in the prison workshop and suddenly there will be an image in your head of your wife kissing some other guy. The pain is indescribable.
Let it go,
and
man. Let
there's
it go.
Nothing you can do to escape
Let it go. You're
So
not getting out
in a
anytime
prison,
soon.
But also
You let
in
it
a
go.
cage in your head, torturing yourself daily, and no matter what you do, those bad thoughts will come. And worse, you can't talk about it to a friend. You can't show weakness in here. And
God.
then you cracked. The therapist was right about the boomerang effect. You'd mistakenly told someone about something you enjoyed, a book you were reading. God knows why you let a feeling slip out, but you did. The novel was The Count of Monte Cristo, a story about love, revenge, justice, and morality. It really resonated with you, but then you got to the all-important final pages and someone had ripped them out. That's the kind of petty thing that happens all the time in prison.
And then you get mad, and then you go beat their ass, and then you get more years.
And years after being dumped, you just lost it. You snapped. Someone told you it was one of the new kids. You waited until he went to the showers and you knocked him clean out with one punch. If you hadn't done anything, you'd have been seen as weak. But the truth is, you did it because you were angry. Therapy is good on paper, but it doesn't take into account the extremes of prison life. In the shoe, an officer told you someone else had torn out the pages. You'd beaten an innocent kid for nothing, putting in work for a conniving liar. Maybe the officer was lying, so you'll beat another innocent man. This is life in the prison.
You're gonna beat the officer too?
Constant lies, people taking pleasure in suffering. It destroys your faith in humanity. You know you can't do another 30 years of this, and after that last beating, stitches, hospital trauma, you doubt the parole board will be doing you any favors. Year 20. A year later, you learned your wife's new lover was your best friend.
Oh my God, yeah, that's another thing, bro. Ooh, man, that would boil my blood. Finding out my best friend got with my wife. He gonna be like, you know, I was at the house one time, you know, we just connected, all that bullshit. Bitch, I ain't trying to hear that. You was supposed to be my best friend. What the hell is this? Nah, man, I don't want to hear none of that. Oh, we connected, you know. I just hugged her and then she came closer, all that. No, I ain't trying to hear that.
Lost your two best pen pals, the core of your emotional support, in one blow. And now your only visitors are your brother and your mom. But your mom is sick, and you carry the added guilt of not being able to help her. You're sure the stress of what you did made her sick. You probably would have lost your mind if it weren't for one thing. Between years 14 and 19, you wrote a novel. It was your greatest accomplishment, besides having a son who still won't talk to you. Under the First Amendment, you technically have the right to express yourself, even in prison. But then one day during a lockdown, your cell got tossed. And when you came back, your manuscript was gone. You complained loudly.
That's kind of fucked. Why is it that they can't write books and shit? I feel like that should be allowed, you know? If you probably they probably use the pencil and shit as weapons. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know why I said that. Yeah, because that can be a weapon. Anything prison or jail can be a weapon. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I understand.
To the office, and that's when they told you the truth. Your manuscript was confiscated and burned. Why? Well, the characters might resemble prison staff. They also said your book could incite violence, that it was a threat to prison security. And that was it. You finally lost your mind. But it wasn't an explosion of violence this time, it was quiet. You just withdrew into yourself. You gave up. You realized you can't win in prison. In the end, it grinds you down. When all those years ago, you thought yourself dehumanized in that first strip search, you were very wrong. Dehumanizing a person takes time. They chip away at you until your identity is nothing but a lump of stone, stripped of all character. Year 30. It's as if you've become a ghost. No one bothers you anymore. You're just 30. The old timers.
10 more years, my boy. 10 more years.
Last time you heard anything
you got it. Stick in there. 10 more years.
Divorce was finished was a letter to say she had married your best friend. Your son, according to your wife, had fallen in with the wrong crowd. In any other circumstances, this would bother you, but now you've stopped caring about what goes on.
At that point, I don't give a fuck. Y'all do what y'all want to do.
Real. The only reality is inside the prison walls, a nightmare you've learned to live with. You don't even know what year it is half the time. After decades, you've just stopped caring. You've seen a guy beaten to death in here. You've heard countless screams from men having a mix of sugar and boiling water thrown in their faces. You've had good
boiling water.
One of the bad ones was a mouthy tough guy. He was transferred with a new scar on his face, made by a double-edged homemade razor. Physical assaults are so common that many don't even get recorded. But the truth is, you barely even notice the violence these days. It's just a fact of life, like the sound of locks or the smell of disinfectant. You no longer even daydream about nice food or the touch of a woman. You focus only on what's in front of you.
10 more years.
It's not what you don't have that hurts you in prison. Humans can get used to almost anything. What hurts the most is the things you could have had. You no longer see ruthless gangs or heartless criminals in here, not like the TV shows want to make out. You just see victims of childhood trauma, of cruelty and rotten luck. Men who, for the most part, were doomed from birth. You don't feel sorry for them. Some have done awful things, but you don't moralize. Prison is proof there is no such thing as free will because no one would choose to end up like this. Year 40. You came in here age 25 and now you're 65.
God damn! That's the retirement age, bro. So when you come out, you can't even do nothing, bro. And if you was in there, you didn't learn no skills, you come out, it's like, what are you gonna do? You gonna start working? Is that what you're gonna do? When you supposed to be retired? Yeah, that ain't it.
Most people retire. You often look in the mirror and you don't recognize yourself. And almost time to go to leave these walls. But the strangest, most debilitating thing is you're not sure if you want to go. For decades, you barely thought about life outside. Now it hits you like a brick and it scrambles your mind. You've seen the changes on TV, new gadgets, wars, viruses, environmental crises, and moral panics. And after a while, it all became meaningless. Sure, they've given you classes on how to reintegrate, but the fact is you became your prison number a long time ago. The outside world is no place for a man who thinks he's a number. Part of you wants to stay in your cell with your books, where you at least know the layout of the land. The dark irony is that the more dehumanized and institutionalized you become in prison, the easier it gets. The parole board said you were ready. The electronic bolt snaps open, and they lead you down the corridor past the few old-timers who bother to say goodbye. But you're struck with a thought. Maybe the outside isn't where you belong.
Yeah,
maybe
because what are you gonna? Yeah, what are you gonna do when you get out though? It's like those family members you have, are they still gonna like take you? You gotta think about all that. Cause 40 years is a long time. Though their minds probably been changed, they probably don't give a fuck no more. And it's like you going out there to what?
Habitat. They hand you your civilian clothes and a small bag with your wallet and phone. There are $300 in there. You're not even sure it buys
300? What the hell 300 gonna do? What are you gonna do? Get a bus ticket? Get some McDonald's? Yeah, what is 300 gonna do? So they just toss you out there and say go. And if you ain't got nobody, you're just gonna be homeless. You're gonna start doing drugs and you probably gonna end up right back in there. Like, literally. Yeah, that is rough. It's real rough.
Phone lights up in your palm. The woman at the desk hides a smile as you prod the antique screen. The last time you stood here, you were good looking, with full hair, a man who once thought he'd do well in life. And now you're old, with 40 years missing. But inside you still feel the same, like your life was paused while the world kept moving. The door opens, daylight hits your eyes, and you take your first steps into the future. Doing life behind bars shows just how crushing prison can be, but some inmates refuse to accept their fate. Watch how insanely creative prisoners escaped from maximum security prison to see the daring and ingenious ways they broke out. Or click on.
Alright, YouTube. See, that's the video, man. My advice is, don't get yourself in trouble that's gonna give you 40 years in prison. And if you get in 40 years in prison, you must have done something crazy. Because how you getting 40 years in prison? You must have done some crazy shit. Y'all let me know what y'all think about the video, man. And I'll catch y'all in the next one. Make sure to sub up as well and like, comment. And I'll catch y'all in the next one, man. Peace, YouTube.